Welcome back to another episode of We Don't Know What to Watch, the podcast where two guys watch random movies and talk about them. And with me, as always, is the amazing, the incredible, the Dwayne Johnson to my Kevin Hart, Kyle Mulford. And I'm Noah Saturn. How you doing, Kyle?
Can you smell the movies I've been watching?
I think so, because you're really sweaty.
Am I glistening? I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, thanks for asking. So this is one of our mini episodes, sometimes maxi episodes, where we talk about what we've been watching. So Kyle, I know you've got a lot watching because it's been a while since we recorded, so give me your greatest hits.
All right, let's find. We haven't recorded in 6 weeks, so I have watched more movies than I care to admit to. I'm going to start off with, this is one that everybody knows, but I watched The Sixth Sense, and I mentioned this because I watched it with my daughter, so I got to watch The Sixth Sense with someone who has not been spoiled yet. So it was, my 10-year-old did not know what the ending was. And so that was kind of fun to watch them go, wait. I'm going to spoil it right now because most everybody knows this. Because we get to the end and she's like, is that a wedding band? I was like, yeah. And then his hand comes up and goes, it's his wedding band. and then it dawned on her. She goes, is he dead? It was kind of fun because it's been a long time since I've actually watched the movie myself, and it was kind of cool to watch it with someone who hadn't seen the ending before. So, and I will say, rewatching it, that the scene between Toni Collette and Haley Joel Osment in the car when they're talking about his grandma, my daughter looks up at me and I'm like just blubbering all over, like just sobbing like a little baby at like that scene. Just that scene hits me so hard. I don't know what it is about it, but it hits me hard. And Toni Collette is so good. Both of them are so good in that scene. But that's everybody knows the story of Sixth Sense. Kid sees dead people, sees a psychiatrist about it. You know the rest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent movie still holds up. Very well done. Then I'm going to go to, I watched a movie, this weird ass movie on Freevee. So you could get through Amazon Prime called Wacko from 1982.
Nice.
And it's about it's got George Kennedy in it as the father of a daughter of a couple of girls. And one of his daughters is I think it was one of the daughters was killed by a pumpkin-headed killer. And this is like a comedy one too. He plays Dr. So-and-so. I can't remember the last name. Does
that mean Lieutenant Frank Drebin is on the case?
Yes. And it comes to 20 years later, and there's one guy has been trying to figure out who this pumpkin-headed killer is. So every Halloween, because that's when it happened, he's like, I know he's going to come back. I know the pumpkin-head killer is going to come back. And it killed someone with a lawnmower.
Nice.
And so there's all sorts of little weird in jokes and stuff from other movies and all that. And I can't remember all of them because I'd watched this several weeks ago, but it was such a bizarre movie. And I'd recommend it as an oddity. Watch it with some friends and just have a good time with this one because it's such a weird movie.
Nice.
And then, I'd be remiss not to mention the Halloween marathon that I did this year because I do one every year. And so this time I did all the Universal Wolfman movies. And so I did Werewolf of London from 1935. This is the one without Lon Chaney Jr. And this is basically just the story of a man who he's a botanist and he was trying to get this plant, this rare plant that only comes out with the moonlight. It's the Wolf's Bane or whatever. And he brings it back, but he got attacked by a werewolf when he was getting it off some mountain. And then he comes back and he turns into a werewolf. And this is actually kind of a cool movie. This one didn't have any sequels. This was just a standalone.
So you're saying he was a werewolf?
He was a werewolf.
Night?
Yes. I still haven't watched that.
Oh, it's really good.
Oh, that's good to hear. No, he was a werewolf of London.
Oh, okay. But he was not an American werewolf in London?
No, he was not an American werewolf. He was a werewolf of London.
Oh, okay.
Then I watched She-Wolf of London. And this one was interesting because there were no werewolves in it. This was more of like a mystery. It was kind of good, but it was like this one came out in 1946, and it's about a lady who thinks her family has a curse, and then there's a money and estate involved, and someone else wants that estate, so they gaslight her into thinking she actually is becoming a werewolf at night. So it was kind of an interesting.
Cool.
It was kind of an interesting little mystery whodunit kind of thing. Then I watched The Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr. from 1941. And this is a classic. He goes back to his home estate, where his father, played by Claude Rains, I think it was.
You mean played by the Invisible Man?
Played by the Invisible Man. Yeah, so he comes back because his brother died somewhere, and so now he gets the estate when his father passes away, so he's going back to get a feel for the place, and he goes out with this girl, and they go see some gypsies who tell their fortune or whatever, and one of them sees
Bela Lugosi.
Yes, Bela Lugosi was in there. And one of them sees the mark of the wolf on his hand, and he's cursed and blah, 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 and then he gets attacked by a werewolf, and then he becomes a werewolf, and they're trying to figure out where he is and who's doing this and who's killing this, and you know the rest.
They're like, hey, well, look out for that wolf, man.
And then there was Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman from 1943. So this one is these kind of all started running together, even though they're good. So I'll just like Frankenstein Meets Wolfman and House of Frankenstein and House of Dracula are all basically like some convoluted plot where Frankenstein comes back and then the Wolfman comes back to life and they get into hijinks and then die again, and then they come back in the next movie. And they're all actually like interconnected. There actually is a continuity to these movies, which is interesting from way back in the 40s. But they're all kind of fun until you get to if you watch them all consecutively. Once you get to House of Dracula, it's almost like a remake of House of Frankenstein. So
yeah, but at least they get to meet Abbott and Costello later.
Yes. And we did watch that again this year because that's a yearly family tradition.
Of course.
And then since I was watching old werewolf movies, and so they weren't really scary movies on my Halloween movie marathon, I wanted to pop on a classic, An American Werewolf in London. This time it was An American Werewolf in London. The classic horror comedy from John Landis about a couple of hikers get attacked by a werewolf. One becomes a werewolf, but he keeps seeing the other guy died, and he keeps seeing his dead friend, and the curse can't be lifted until the werewolf lineage has been killed. So the dead friend keeps telling him to kill himself. And hilarity and jump scares ensue.
Yes, and
this
one of the
one
coolest werewolf transformation sequences ever.
Yes, exactly. So I wanted to watch this one with my kids, and this one was interesting to watch because there's a sexy shower scene. And I have to say, usually watching with your like 13 and 10-year-old kids, you're going to get one of them going, ew, or closing their eyes or whatever. My kids were watching, and during the sexy shower scene, my 10-year-old just looks at me and goes, they are wasting a lot of water.
That's a good point.
I was like,
really be conscious of your water bill.
That's amazing. I love it. But I think they both really enjoyed the movie too, even though it is kind of a sad ending, kind of a depressing ending. Then let's go to, I watched the new 2022 movie. This one was the whole family also, DC League of Super Pets.
I have seen this one, and it's delightful.
I absolutely adored this movie. I didn't know what to expect. It was another Rock and Kevin Hart movie. And so, sometimes they can just be kind of fun, but like, man, I don't need to see it again. This one, I was like, I loved this movie. Like, just the characters in it and the pets and the storyline and everything. And I loved the cat.
Yes.
I'm just a cute little fur baby or purr baby. I loved the hairball grenades and this one was so much fun because so you got Superman and Batman, and Superman's got his dog Krypto, but he's starting to get more involved with Lois Lane, and then all of a sudden, they're gonna get married, and Krypto's like, oh no, I'm losing my master because he's not gonna play with me anymore, and then So he's trying to get his attention, and he wants to go stop Lex Luthor on his own to show, hey, you should still be hanging with me and everything because I'm cool still. And then there's a pet store that gets exposed to like I don't remember what color kryptonite it was.
It's orange kryptonite.
It's orange kryptonite. That's right. And it gives all the pets like different superhero abilities. The turtle was magnificent. I loved the turtle too.
Played by Natasha Lyonne, yes.
Yeah.
A super fast turtle who can't see, so she swears a lot.
None of you are turtles? Well, that makes more sense now. Yeah. Well, yeah, there was one where she dropped an F-bomb that they blurted out. And I was like, normally in a kid's movie, I'm like, that's too much. But like, it was so perfect in this one. It was so funny. But yeah, the pets all get superpowers, and most of them, join the Justice League eventually. And one of them was a hairless guinea pig that hairless, so was once a pet of Lex Luthor's, or really like a lab rat type thing. And so she becomes evil. And and then the pets and the Justice League have to come together to save the day. And I can't recommend this movie enough. I loved this movie.
Yes, it was so good. Also, their depiction of Batman as just being kind of miserable was really funny.
I love the line, "The Batman loves you too." It was Keanu Reeves playing the Batman, which was great. Yes. And then I watched the 2020 film on Netflix, Enola Holmes, because I hadn't seen that yet. And this was a delightful little movie. This was just basically a younger sister of Sherlock Holmes. And apparently this is a book series that someone wrote recently, and played by Eleven from Stranger Things, Millie Bobby Brown. And she was great in this film. And you get, well, speaking of Superman, Henry Cavill plays Sherlock. And it's just Enola trying to, her mother disappears and she wants to find her. So she goes off on her own and tries to solve the mystery of where her mother went. And it is just a lot of fun, actually. And this is another one I really recommend. But then I followed that up. The reason I watched that is because my wife really loved it. So I rewatched that with her. And then together we watched Enola Holmes 2 from 2022.
Oh, yes. Enola Holmes 2, Secret of the Ooze, right?
Yes. And she finds the secret of the ooze because she's just as smart as Sherlock.
Very much so.
Another mystery comes up, and she's trying to start her own detective agency. And, Sherlock offers to help, but she's like, no, then I'll just be known as your little sister or whatever. And I want to do this on my own. And he's working on a case too. And of course, because this is a movie where you've got those two main characters, their two cases intertwine and it ends up being they're really kind of working on the same case. They just didn't realize it. But
nice.
But this is a fun little double feature because both of these movies were really fun and just a good time. So they're both on Netflix. I think they're both Netflix movies. And I would really recommend those. And then I finally watched a couple of 2022 movies here. I watched Top Gun Maverick. And this is a 30-year sequel done right.
Top, two gun.
Yes, two Top, two Gun, two Mavericky. This was really good. This is basically Maverick is now like a test pilot 30 years later after the first Top Gun, and there's an unnamed country that's got a plutonium deposit, an illegal plutonium deposit that they need to take out, and so they bring Pete Maverick Mitchell back to the Top Gun school to train the next batch of Top Gun flyers to take on this mission. And there's also some conflict there because one of them is the son of Goose. So you've got a little bit of conflict between those two because Goose was in the plane with Maverick in the first one when he died. Spoiler for a 30-year-old movie. This was one of those sequels where, it's 30 years later. So they pawn on some nostalgia by having a lot of the same beats of the first movie, and it kind of follows the same path, but the characters are different and the story is different, and then the conflict between the characters is different because now it's like a conflict between the teacher and the student and their relationship, and then and now the person who was the cocky pilot in the first one is now the pilot trying to teach other cocky pilots, and it just was done so well, and I can't recommend this one high enough either. I've got a lot of high recommendations this time.
Nice. I have no real feelings towards the first Top Gun. I saw it. It was good. It wasn't like my favorite movie ever, but I understand, for a lot of people, Maverick, this second one was like huge.
It was, and I've seen people say I didn't care for the first one, but I love the second one. So if you actually liked the first one, I would check this out. If you liked the first one at all, I would check this one out for real. It is a really good movie.
I heard that they worked in Val Kilmer in some way. Was that handled well?
That was actually handled exceptionally well, considering that he's sick and everything. So, no, that was done really well. And that was actually a really nice scene between him and Tom Cruise.
Cool.
So, yeah. Then, finishing off the Lone Wolf and Cub series, I watched White Heaven in Hell from 1974.
Nice.
And this is more Lone Wolf and Cub slashing people up with swords and whatnot, and another person after him again, and they take her out because they're the Lone Wolf and Cub. This one, there's some snow in the scene too, or there's snowing down a ski slope. So that was interesting.
Yep. Baby on skis.
And there's not much to say about this. I've already talked about the other 5 movies. All of them are very similar, but they're a fun time and they're short movies. So I really dug all 6 of these movies.
Good stuff.
Yes, indeed. Then I watched a 1978 film on Shudder called Piranha from Joe Dante during his Roger Corman days.
I have seen Piranha. My favorite guy is like the guy who just like is in full shorts and just walks into the water.
I had never seen this before, and I didn't know what to expect other than Joe Dante's one of my favorite directors. And I wasn't disappointed because I actually loved this movie. This was so much fun. There's a camp out in the woods, and up the river, there's a testing site for something. There was some military testing site that was done with, and someone goes up there and they realize, there's because they're looking for a missing person. And that missing person, they kind of found clues that they were in this place, and searching for the bodies, they emptied a tank of water, and they found out someone was still up there working on these things and working on an experiment. And it was a bunch of piranha that could be in salt water or fresh water or whatever. And they just emptied the tank down into the river that goes down to the camp. So they're on
and then nothing bad happened.
And nothing bad happens other than it's the piranha, sir. What about the piranha? They're eating the guests. This is a good movie. It's got that sly Joe Dante humor, but it's also a horror movie. And I mean, this movie is not even afraid to kill a bunch of kids.
It does kill a bunch of children.
Yeah. So if you're not into that, boy, stay away from this one. But it's done in a way where it's like, well, they're all in the water, so it's like some of them aren't going to make it. Can't save them all, I guess. But no, this is a really cool movie. I like this. I don't know if this was his first movie or what, but it was one of his first. And then we'll go on to skipping a few here. Rambo 3 from 1988. This was my first watching of this. And this one was interesting because it doesn't hold up too well because this was 1988. So the Rambo's mission is to go and help supply missiles to Afghanistan.
Against the Russians.
Against the Russians, yes. And then cut to, 20, 30 years later, we're like, no, we don't want Afghanistan to have the missiles.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing ever was that the alternate ending they shot for this was like he chose to stay in Afghanistan or something.
This one didn't have enough, like, after the first one, which was a really great story, and I didn't need a lot of action in it. It was a really great movie. The second one was kind of fun because it was just, he goes into the jungle looking for the POWs and there's a lot of action. This one, the action was really saved for the end. And I was like, I don't know. This one was my least favorite of the 3 so far. So I still have 2 movies to go on this series.
I heard the fourth one was good. I heard the fifth one was bad. I
Yeah,
feel like
that's
my pitch for Last Blood would have been like, what if he goes after like white supremacist skinheads?
right. That'd be
Yeah, I
cool.
feel like that would be ultimately sane, and like in like a big middle finger to those jerks.
Yeah. So, yeah, that one was not my favorite of the Rambo movies so far. Then I watched 1952 film High Noon, Gary Cooper and Grace Kelly. He's the marshal in a town, and he's cleaned up this town, and it's real nice now and everything. But he's about to retire, and he's gonna marry his girl, and they're gonna ride off into the sunset. But then he finds out someone he helped put in jail got out, and he's on his way into town, so he's got to make a stand there so that this guy doesn't come back and cause trouble. And it turns out all the people who like him in town, they all have reasons for not helping him, so he gets kind of disenfranchised by that. And then he has to stand up to these guys by himself. And this is the movie that John Wayne called Un-American.
Oh, John, you goober.
I know, John Wayne. He's all sorts of problems. I like lots of his movies, but in real life, he was all sorts of problems.
Yeah, he was not very nice.
No. So this is a good movie though. I enjoyed this one.
Yep. And then of course what I think is fun is this is a real-time film where it actually takes the amount of time the movie is.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So you keep getting cut back to the clock, looking at the clock. Oh gosh, it's almost noon. It's almost high noon. And then the last movie I'm going to talk about is another 2020.
Sounds like a Cheech and Chong movie.
All right. I want a remake of High Noon with Cheech and Chong.
Nice.
I watched another 2022 film last night on Roku called Weird, the Al Yankovic story.
I still need to watch this.
Roku is a free app. Go watch this because it was so much fun. This was only Weird Al. Weird Al is the only celebrity that you could do a complete false parody biopic with, and it would and have it work. And it worked so well. I had a lot of fun with this movie because he just Daniel Radcliffe did a great job. And then, of course, he did a lot of performances in it, but it was actually Weird Al singing on the track. So, but there was a lot of great tropes that he made fun of from recent biopics and all that stuff. Some of my favorites were like his dad works at a factory and he hates that his son wants to make music. He's like, no, I won't have you making music. You got to work in the factory when you grow up. Dad, I don't even know what you make at that factory. You'll find out what we make at that factory when you work in the factory.
Nice.
You need to have that factory job.
Don't forget, he does a lot of drugs, right?
He does a lot of drinking in this. Okay. He becomes an alcoholic. And, so like he dates Madonna for a while and she's a bad influence. And another great gag is it's a running gag throughout the film where they keep saying, so let me get this straight. You're taking pre-existing music and writing new lyrics. That's stupid. That's never going to work. So then there gets to a point in his career where he's like, I know what I have to do now. I have to make original music. And he makes a song called Eat It. And then months later, Michael Jackson makes a parody song called Beat It.
That's amazing.
It's like, he made a parody song of my song. Now I'm just going to be associated with this Michael Jackson fella.
Perfect.
Oh, this movie could have been so one note because it was based off of a Funny or Die sketch, which was like 3 minutes long with Aaron Paul playing Weird Al. But it's somehow they stretched it into an hour and a half, and I just enjoyed the whole thing. And it was so much fun, and it was such a perfect type of movie to do of Weird Al's life because it's like, well, we already know what we need to know of Weird Al. He's been a great person for his entire career, for his 30 or 40 years, and always has been, no controversy, just a great person. So why not make a parody of a biopic?
It makes perfect sense because sort of the biopic formula is still rife with so much to work with.
Yeah.
So it sounds like this would go as a great double feature with Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story.
I've seen a couple people recommending that. I've never seen Walk Hard, but now I kind of want to watch that because I've seen it a couple times, people recommending that one as a double feature. So that's some of the movies I've watched, but we don't want to be here all night. So those were the highlights. So hopefully I gave a lot of good recommends, and there was some in there that I really enjoyed. So
Okay, well, I guess I go for quality over quantity, although some of them, the quality is questionable, but here we go. So the first one I watched was Little Rascals from 1994. And,
okay, buckwheat.
exactly. There's a lot of, like, weird celebrity cameos in this one. Like, Whoopi Goldberg is there for one scene.
Well, that's the only thing I remember because I saw this when it came out, and the one joke I remember is, "Hey, look, there's your mom, Whoopi."
Yeah, and then, let's see, Leah Thompson is in this for no reason. There's a
Oh,
surprise
really?
Leah Thompson cameo. And then, Reba McEntire is there.
What? I don't
Yeah.
remember any of these people. I just remember the Whoopi scene.
And you remember,
Isn't
like,
there like a soapbox race at the end?
yeah, and then you remember, like, the rich kid? At one point, the rich kid calls his dad, and it's Donald Trump, and I was like, what are you doing here?
Oh, no. He's always around the rich kids. He was at the hotel, or well, I guess it wasn't a rich kid. Well, McAllister's family is rich because have you seen the house in the first Home Alone?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
How did this movie hold up?
I had never seen it before, and I thought, yeah, it's cute. It's great if you're a young kid. Or I guess if you're super nostalgic for the original Little Rascals R Gang shorts from like the 1920s and 30s.
Yeah.
I guess it just made me think of like a scene from The Simpsons where Moe was like one of the Little Rascals.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
Like someone else takes this gimmick and is like, he's killed the original Alfalfa! So that was definitely a movie. Next, I wanted to see, I watched Halloween Ends, and it certainly did. I still think, at least in as far as the trilogy goes, of the more recent David Gordon Green films, I think the first one is Halloween 2018, then Halloween Kills, and then Halloween Ends. It has some really interesting and good ideas, but it just doesn't go with it well. And like the final fight between Laurie and Michael is kind of disappointing.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, Kills and Ends I haven't watched yet because I keep hearing like mixed reviews on them where I really liked the 2018 Halloween. So I'm like, I don't want to kind of taint that by watching the rest of them.
I think they're still worth watching at least once. They have good moments.
I'll just pretend that Halloween ended when he was in that house fire at the end of Halloween.
Honestly, that'd probably be the most satisfying ending. I thought that was the most definitive way to kill him off.
I thought it was a great scene too, with with Laurie Strode's daughter helping out with the trap and everything. So
exactly,
I'll eventually watch these other two, but I haven't had the ambition to watch them just because both of them had mixed reviews.
And I think that's okay. Next, I went to the theater and I watched Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and it was really good. I thought first of all, they handled the memorial of Chadwick Boseman really well. I thought that was a very well done sequence. And also, we got to see Namor, who is a character I never thought we would see.
Yeah, that shocked me when I saw the trailer for this. I'm like, whoa, they are going to bring it. Well, because I knew they had to bring him into a Wakanda movie if they did anything. But I was kind of shocked to see that they finally brought him in. But I did see that, was it Paramount or Universal, or Paramount, I think, owns, some other studio owns the rights, the rights to Namor for solo movies, so they still can't do that. So it's another one of those weird things, kind of like the Hulk thing.
Yeah, I mean, I just hope that Namor shows up for the Fantastic Four. And yep, so Namor is wearing his costume. He is in the Speedo the majority of the film, so.
I'm just waiting for Deadpool 3, where we get Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine, and they're bringing Owen Wilson as Mobius and the Time Variant Authority or agency into it.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. But yeah, so this one was really good. I really like Shuri. Overall, I thought it was a very good sequel, and it's fun to see more of Wakanda. And it's fun to see, they didn't call it Atlantis in this film, they call it Talokin, because, Aquaman already did Atlantis, so I think that makes sense. And I really like how they changed a lot with Namor, because, they called him a mutant, because he's technically the first mutant, so they used the M word.
Oh, okay. That's true, yeah, he was one of the first mutants. Is he supposed to be really old? Because I know, he fought in World War II with Captain America in the comics, but I don't know if they, retconned that so that he could be in the current comics. Do they live longer, or did they just say he's a current mutant?
No, he's the first mutant because he was born like hundreds of years ago or whatever.
Okay, so he is really old in the movies.
Yeah, so they
Then.
give him a nice origin story where they really lean into him like being part of like indigenous, I believe it's like Mayan culture.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Is this what is this movie about? Is it about like a conflict between the we'll call them the Atlanteans and Wakandans?
Yeah, so basically, they're still grieving and it's mainly between Shuri and Namor and how Namor comes to Wakanda saying, "Hey, these people are like, other nations really want vibranium. They found a vibranium deposit deep in the ocean." And then Namor's like, "Hey man, that's my stuff and you're threatening my people." And
Oh,
he's
okay.
still got a chip on his shoulder because he saw as a very young person the conquistadors. So he hates humanity, probably for good reason. So he's like, "Hey, like I want your people to join me, and to do this, where I want you to give me the scientist who created this vibranium detector machine." So they go find the scientist, and ends up being Riri Williams, aka Ironheart.
Oh, okay. So I thought I saw that they introduced her in this. That's cool.
Yeah, so that's cool. So then the conflict begins. Like, okay, are we going to give up Ironheart to basically a crazy guy? Because he's kind of mad and he wants kill humanity.
All right. Well, I'm glad to know this is good. Some of the last couple of movies, people have been really dogging on, like Thor: Love and Thunder, and
I love Thor: Love and Thunder.
everybody else I talked to is like, no, don't even bother watching it.
It's really good.
Well, I'll still watch it because I'm a MCU, like Disney has bought me, with
You
their
also sold your soul to Kevin Feige?
I have. Who I've sold my soul to now is James Gunn running the DCEU.
I just hope it's good.
I'm excited for him to
Like
be.
Black Adam came out and I almost immediately forgot about it. I didn't even see it.
I just ordered that on Blu-ray. I haven't seen it yet because, well, of course, it's one of those things where hey, you can buy it digitally right now, but your Blu-ray will arrive to you on January 9th. And
You're like,
for those keeping track, that's probably I'll probably already have the disc by the time I post this one. But as we're recording this, it's only December 1st.
yeah, so that's a really quick turnaround. And lastly, I was able to get lucky. I got lucky to catch a screening of this one. I was able to take my family and my wife to see Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery.
Ooh, I want to see that so bad.
Yeah, so it was in theaters for 1 week, but then they took it out. Honestly, this should have been a major theatrical release because it was doing well. It is really one. I would have definitely drawn a bigger audience had it stayed in theaters more than just like a week.
Yeah, because I thought the first one was popular.
It was. It was a huge hit. It was a surprise hit in 2019.
That was one of my favorite movies that year.
Absolutely, mine too.
Did this one hold up to that one?
Oh, absolutely. I like this one maybe even a little bit better.
Oh, that's promising.
So yeah, Benoit Blanc is back. He's the only returning character, and this time he is sort of invited mysteriously to the island resort of this weird kind of tech billionaire guy played by Edward Norton. So it's like, and he's invited to like a murder mystery party of Edward Norton, his and like all of his like influencer slash quote unquote disruptor friends. So we've got Leslie Odom Jr. as kind of the science guy. We've got Janelle Monáe as the disgraced business partner who was kind of cut out of the company. And then we've got Catherine Hahn, who's like a politician running for the Senate, but then Edward Norton is a major financial backer. And then we've got Dave Bautista as like this really like macho manly man, like selling supplements on YouTube, that sort of guy.
Nice.
And he like always carries a gun with him, and at one point he even has a holster attached to he has a holster that goes on not a bikini, but he has a holster that goes on a Speedo. It's hilarious.
Nice. Oh, I'm so looking forward to this movie.
And then we've got Kate Hudson as like a model who's kind of like been in and out of the news for saying stupid things on Twitter. It's so good. So yeah, and then of course there's a murder. Benoit Blanc is back on the case. There's some fun celebrity cameos in here. I'm not going to spoil one, but like at the first time we see Benoit Blanc, because this movie takes place in like summer of 2020, so at pretty much the height of COVID.
Oh, okay. So that's part of the storyline.
Yeah, that's part of the storyline because Benoit Blanc is really bored because he's too isolating the home. He needs a good case. He's just like not taking care of himself. He's been like in the bathtub every day for weeks or something. And then he's like trying to play Among Us with some other celebrity cameos, which I'm not going to spoil because they were delightful.
Awesome. I can't wait for this to come out. I need to just buy both Knives Out movies.
Yep, this one is amazing. I hope it gets a physical release. I know Netflix can be weird about that, but
Is it a Netflix movie?
yeah, Netflix has the rights to distribute it. So that's why they only had it in theaters for 1 week, and then it'll be streaming for everybody on December 23rd.
Oh, okay. So it's going to come to Netflix. So I'll be able to watch it here in
Yeah.
the next month. Okay, cool. I thought that I saw that and I was like, I was getting confused by the release dates. I'm like, is it already on Netflix? And then I went and checked. I'm like, no, it's not here. And so it's coming to Netflix.
Yeah, so my family, we watched the Knives Out in theaters together, and then we got to watch this one together, so that was kind of a fun thing.
Sweet.
But yeah, highly recommended. I absolutely adore that movie. And I wish we need more mainstream mystery movies. It's a genre that you don't see very often anymore.
You need a really good writer, though.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who could write a clever murder mystery, and Rian Johnson seems to be able to pull that off.
Yes, he's done it twice so far. So
I hope to see more Benoit Blanc after this.
yes, and this is a great second outing for him, and I hope to see about 1,000,000 more.
And I'd love to see, and I'd love to see them keep continuing because obviously it's going to be a different mystery every time. So never have the same cast, but always get these really great ensemble casts.
Exactly.
So cool. I'm glad I'm glad you enjoyed that one because that's I'll be watching that at the end of this month then.
Yeah, that's all it was for me. So what do you think you're going to watch next?
I honestly don't even know. I don't know what I have on my radar. What about you?
I'm going to watch Nope because I know that one's streaming on Peacock. So I got Peacock just for that and Halloween Ends.
Oh, okay. That was actually one that I skipped on here. I didn't have a lot to say about it. I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but I'll talk about that one after you watch it.
Sounds good.
On the next episode. But in the meantime, people can let us know what they've been watching. Comments below and follow us on Twitter at AwesomeKM.
And I'm at Noah_Saturn if Twitter is still around by the time we post this episode.
If Elon Musk hasn't imploded it. And you can follow us. But if not, then follow us on Instagram at We Don't Know What to Watch. I'm more active on there anyway because I kind of put up screenshots of what I'm watching currently. So
I should start posting more on Instagram anyway.
And you can email us at we don't know what to watch at gmail.com. Send us an email and we'll probably most likely read it on air. But until next time, keep watching.
Keep watching movies and watch out for Southern detectives with Southern accents.
I'll say, boy.